What's up, beautiful people? Let's get into today's show. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I talked about the first self-made female billionaire, if you remember that. She was the founder of Spanx. Last week, I talked about an entrepreneur who's absolutely mad, with the best name ever, Palmer Luckey. And this week is another very interesting entrepreneur. But, you know, we were all told lies as children. We literally, we're told that we needed an MBA. That probably cost more than our cars to get through education these days. We told it, we needed to have a great personality to get out there and kind of build something. These entrepreneurs that I've been talking about, none of them had MBAs. Some of them were introverts that did nothing. And this entrepreneur is no different. In 2007, this entrepreneur was $40,000 in debt. He was a 26-year-old art grad student who had quit his job and moved to San Francisco with $1,000 in his bank, and his rent was $1,150 per month. I'm not great at maths, but I would say you're probably going to be in debt in the first month of being there. This guy was a competitive bodybuilder, spending most of his weekends literally oiled up in a small little Speedo. He'd been thrown out of meetings in Silicon Valley. In fact, an investor, the story goes, actually walked out in the middle of a pitch session for this plan to go and buy Frappuccino at Costa or Starbucks, whatever was down the road. Can you believe that? That must have hurt. But this week, we are talking about an entrepreneur, who couldn't get a VC check. You know what he did? He went and started a cereal company, and he literally bought cereal boxes and glued them together while his business was working. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? Can you guess? Drum roll, please. The answer is Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, a $40 billion company. What's up, guys? It's Kamal. This is the Honest Entrepreneur Show, where I talk about all things entrepreneurial. And this is my, third or fourth episode. And I'm talking about founder of Airbnb, Brian Chesky. So Brian and his co-founder, Joe Gabay, I'm not sure how you say it, Gabay, in San Francisco. When they were there was a design conference, and every hotel is sold out. There is no room. So they said to each other, well, why don't we get a load of air mattresses, throw them into the living room, and then rent out those air mattresses, right? And we'll charge people to sleep on them. Crazy. And you know what they called it? They called it Air, Bed, and Breakfast. Air, Bed, and Breakfast. Sounds like a horror movie set, really. Inviting strangers to come and sleep on an air mattress in your living room. But people actually showed up. They couldn't get enough to pay, the hotel prices for that night. And then these two, because people showed up, thought, cha-ching, we're the next, best thing. We are the next Google. We are going to be the next, billion-dollar company. Billion-dollar company. Someone else has got that idea. Except for the next several months after launching the site, there were 0 customers. In fact, after 6 months, they only had 2 customers. And one of them was, in fact, Brian himself, who actually made a booking through there. So it could look like they had customers. Fake it till you make it. So part 2 of this story, after they realized it's failing, they didn't want to give up on it completely, but they needed to generate some revenue. They needed to make some money somehow, like most entrepreneurs do. So in 2008, the Great Recession comes along. Brian is as broke as anyone, got multiple credit cards just to kind of eat and keep his diet, keep himself alive. He said it was the best diet ever, being broke. And then there was a Democratic conference in San Francisco at the time. Every single hotel was sold out. And instead of just doing the bed and breakfast part, they decided, let's just do the breakfast part. So what they did, they went to a cereal company and they said, hey, we want to make custom boxes for your cereal packets. But the guy at the cereal company obviously asked for a $250,000 deposit if you're going to put your brand and go out there Obviously, Brian had a big fat zero in his account, so he couldn't afford that. So what they did, they went down to a printing press. They found a guy that would allow them to print boxes of cereal, and they literally took glue guns and started building these boxes, these custom-made cereal boxes in their houses. They kept thinking to themselves, I wonder if Mark Zuckerberg sat in his kitchen making cereal boxes when he was starting Facebook. Well, he was actually in a dorm doing not much better than that. But obviously the film, the social, what's it called? The Social Entrepreneur, the film on Facebook, it wasn't out then. So you didn't know how Mark Zuckerberg lived at that point. Even social media wasn't as popular back then. Anyway, they sold the boxes for $40 a box. They made around $30,000. It's not a bad little business that they had going. Even with the cereal money, they were still failing. They actually got an interview with Paul Graham, who's the founder of Y Combinator at the time. If anyone knows anything about Y Combinator, #1 startup entrepreneur kind of program that you can go to, accelerator. But he threw them out the room. He was like, you're crazy asking strangers to come and sleep in your living room. That's impossible. But then as they were leaving, this is the fun part. They handed them a box of the cereal that they'd been selling for $40. And Paul said, what are you giving me this? He's like, it's a $40 box of cereal, but it's really just a $4 box. And Paul looked at it and said, well, hang on a minute. If you guys are good enough to sell a box of cereal, which is worth $4 for $40, something in you guys. This was the time when VCs were looking at founders' hearts, founders' beliefs before they were looking at the business ideas. Oh, I wish those times were still here. So the lesson there is the $1 billion company or the $40 billion company now got its first break, not because of the business idea, but because of the founder's heart, founder's passion in their selves, not in the business, right? They had shown that they would do anything to get through tough times. So the lesson from that is, Airbnb is worth billions. Brian is worth billions. In his office, he still apparently has 2 boxes of these cereal. Not that I've ever been to his office. That would be a dream come true, isn't it? Stop waiting for the perfect setup. You just have to, build. And if you believe in something, just stick behind it and keep going with it, right? And if you think about the stories that I've been telling, Sarah Barkley, she sold fax machines. Palmer Luckey fixed iPhones. Brian Chesky made cereal boxes. You see the trend there, right? Success isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the person who leaves the room last. Just think about that, right? Just keep going. Just keep going with your idea. I know it's very, very difficult. You don't have to give up your day job. You can make money on the side. But if you really believe in something, you really shouldn't let it go at the first hurdle. You've got to keep pushing it and you've got to keep going through it. This has been The Honest Entrepreneur. I hope you enjoyed that session about Brian. I find them interesting. You should go back to my other videos about Sarah and about Palmer. Have a look through them. Please leave your comments. Tell me whether you like this video or you dislike this video, or what you want to talk to me about, or which entrepreneur you'd like to talk to me about, or anything to do with startups. I'd love to talk about anything, all right? Have a nice day, everyone. This is The Honest Entrepreneur Series. Bye-bye. See you next week. Sometime in the future.